So now we're at the bender. The cool thing about the radius bender is it doesn't lie. It doesn't care if you're short or tall, red, black, or blue. You put your welds in, they're either good or they're not good. So here's where we're at. We watched part 1, how to run the line burner, put bevels on your plates, clean the mill scale off. Part 2, how to tack those plates up. V-groove, but with backing weld, 1/4 inch root opening, minimum. Part 3 was how to run your grinder, remove the top of the weld without touching the base metal. Part 4, we went over and we removed the backing strip. And part 5, we went through belt sander, how to put a belt on, how to run the belt sander, and how to prep these coupons. So here's what we ended up with. We have 6-inch coupons. You can see I don't need to get all of it off, just in the areas where we're going to bend. Now the next step is with the radius bender. It's a very simple machine. It's going to bend these pieces around like this. They will need to be inspected after they're bent. Just because they have something that happens to them doesn't mean they fail. They can pass with some discontinuities, or you'll be cutting up more pieces and doing them again. But just trust me and your instructors when I say everybody has done welds over. Okay? That's part of the process. This is an industry standard test. So you're doing a pretty tough weld, a pretty good test right here on your welds. It's a destructive test. We're trying to break these things, or at least bend them and see what happens. So first things first, if you come over here and see these jaws on this machine, we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches. That is for the length of your pieces. So the first thing you want to do is measure your pieces. These are 6-inch pieces. Now we need to bend 1 root bend and 1 face bend. So one of these plates has to be bent one way, the other one has to be bent the other way. If you remember back at the line burner video, I told you cut 3 pieces. That third piece is an alternate piece, and that gets a little bit more into inspection. So you do want to have 3 pieces there for your instructor to determine if you can use the third piece or not. But for now, let me just say this. When I tacked these pieces up and when I welded them, we were doing it for video purposes. I did go over and quench these in the quench tank. Let me be clear, you never, ever, ever quench anything you want to test. So what I'm saying is, I don't know if these are going to bend or not, and that's fine for these purposes, because if they do break, then I can show you what that looks like too. So these are 6-inch pieces. I'm going to bend the root bend, the face bend first. So I bring this piece in, I lined it up with the 6 inches, I bring my clamp in, tighten up my clamp, and I want to make sure that this piece is somewhat level so it bends even. So I'll bring it down a little bit. Now what we have over here is the switch to turn the machine on. The switch is on. There's only one lever on the machine, and that's this. Okay? So we clamp these things in and we bend this thing around. Now I will say this, you always have to have your safety glasses on, because these are high pressure hydraulic lines right here that your face is over. These are new, this is a pretty new machine, not a big deal. But always have your safety glasses on anytime you're in this shop running any of this equipment. And we're going to bring this dude right around, and we'll see if quenching that really made it break or not. Push the lever the other way and it comes back around. I bring it all the way back. I loosen up my clamp. I pull my piece out, and look at that. Even after quenching it, you can see the edge of the weld. You can see the edge of the weld. Even after quenching it, it's still bent with no discontinuities. So let's bend the other one. we're going to bend the root bend on this one. And we'll see how this works. Because the roots are usually the ones that have a little harder time passing the bend test. I'm going to line this up to 6 inches. I am going to tighten my clamp, make sure this thing is level, or pretty level. And I'm going to bend it. Now I'll be surprised if this one bends good with no problems. But maybe. You just never know. That's why we use a bender. That is why we test welds. Because we prove it right or we prove it wrong. Bring it back. And no, there's not a second gear. It's just the speed that it is. Relax. Take your time. We loosen up the clamp. We shut the machine off. And look at that. Even this one bent good. So there's the root pass of the weld. You can see the edges of it. So that's kind of surprising. Both of them passed well even after quenching this weld and, you know, moving pretty fast with it because of video purposes. Now under certain circumstances with your instructors set up, if you do this weld with flux core, stick, or MIG, you do this weld and it looks like that when you're done, you're now a certified welder, or can be. It's not quite that easy, but that is the process. So when you're doing these V-groove butt with backings, remember, correct bevels, the procedure will tell you that. Remove the mill scale. Tack them up tight. Craftsmanship is important. Make them nice and even. Remove the backing strip in the weld, not too far, because we're going to use the belt sander to finish them off. Cut your pieces, 3 pieces at 1.5 inches. Take them to the belt sander, touch them up a little bit, bring them in here, and they will either pass, they will have some discontinuities, or they will snap in half like an overcooked sugar cookie on Christmas morning. And then you go do another one.